Okay, today I have three more Parkinson's stories that made me stop and say, no way. Not, that's interesting. Not, well, that's a neat little study. I mean, full on. Wait a second. Are you sure this is real? Because one of them involves a Parkinson's medication that may be doing something researchers didn't expect. One of them was invented by two teenagers, and honestly, when I first saw it, I thought somebody was sending me a joke. But the last one, the last one is one you need to stay for. Because believe it or not, doctors are now taking something from healthy people and transplanting it into people living with Parkinson's to see if it can help. And it's not what you think it is. And when I tell you what it is, you're not even going to believe me, but it's real. So buckle up because today, oh my gosh, today's is definitely who knew.
Welcome to Living with Parkinson's. The good, the bad, and the reality. Real talk, real life, real community with Bryce Perry. Let's begin.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the broadcast. I'm Bryce, and I was diagnosed with Parkinson's at the age of 40. Been living with this now for almost 16 years. Now today is part 2 of June's Who Knew Week. We're not here for boring science soup. We're here for the stuff that makes you pause the video, yell at your spouse, and say, come here, you need to hear this. So today's going to be faster, but we're going bigger. We're going more dramatic, and we're keeping the science in normal human language because you know what? We don't have time for a medical lecture. Medical lectures wear lab coats and smell like printer ink, and that's not me. So, who knew that a Parkinson's medication might actually help with depression? Not tremor, not stiffness, not movement, but depression. And when I first saw that, I honestly sat there and I thought, wait. What? Because most people still think Parkinson's is just shaking. That's the outside version of Parkinson's. That's the brochure version. That is the my uncle had it and his hand shook version. But those of us living with Parkinson's know there's another side. The side people don't always see. The side that messes with your mood and your motivation, your energy, your confidence, your sleep, and your sense of self. Depression and Parkinson's is not always just I'm sad because I have Parkinson's. Sometimes it can be part of the disease itself. And that's a big deal. Because if depression is part of the biology, then treating it may be more than just someone saying try to stay positive. Which, by the way, is one of those phrases that sounds nice until you're the person hearing it. Try to stay positive. Thank you, Carol. I'll just ask my dopamine to stop acting like it left town without forwarding its mail. And here's where this gets interesting. There's a Parkinson's drug called pramipexole. Some of you may be taking it. I'm taking it. Some of you may have taken it. Some of you may have had side effects and said, no, thank you. This relationship is over. Now, researchers have looked at pramipexole and asked a really interesting question. Could a medication used in Parkinson's also help depression symptoms? Who knew? Now, I sure as heck didn't know that. And the reason this makes some sense is because pramipexole works on dopamine pathways. And dopamine is not just about movement. Dopamine is tied to motivation. It's tied to the reward and drive and energy. That feeling I can actually get up and do the thing. And if you live with Parkinson's, you know exactly what I mean. There are days when getting off the couch feels less like standing up and more like negotiating a hostage release with your own nervous system. Your brain says, let's go, and your body says, I'll circle back after lunch. And your motivation is somewhere in the garage looking for the charger. So when researchers start looking at a dopamine-related Parkinson's medication for depression, then maybe sit forward. Because this is one of those moments where Parkinson's research reminds us that the disease is not separated into tiny boxes. Movement over here, mood over there, sleep in the corner, gut in the basement. No. Parkinson's is more like someone dumped a junk drawer into your nervous system and then told you to stay organized. Everything is connected. And for people living with Parkinson's depression, that matters. Because it means that you're not weak. You're not failing. You're not just being negative. You're not broken because you can't smile your way through a neurological disease. Sometimes your brain chemistry is part of the battle, and that deserves treatment. It deserves real attention. It deserves a doctor who takes you seriously. Because if you're living with Parkinson's and depression, or you love someone who is, this gives you another conversation to have with your neurologist, your doctor, or your care team. It's not a demand, but a conversation. You can say, I heard there is research looking at dopamine medications and depression in Parkinson's. Does that apply to me? Is this something we're talking about? And that is a fair question. And honestly, this is why Who Knew Week matters. Because how many people are sitting at home thinking, watching this right now, thinking, I should be handling this better? If that's you, how about a Me Too in the comments? Not to embarrass you, not to point you out, but because somebody else is struggling with depression right now, thinking they're the only ones. And it's not, and you're not. Who knew? Who knew a Parkinson's medication might open a whole bigger conversation about depression? I sure didn't. All right, that's number one. Now, before we get to the second one, I need you to remember something. After the second one, the third one's coming. And the third one is one where doctors are taking something from healthy people and they're transplanting it into people living with Parkinson's. And I'm not telling you what that is yet. You're probably thinking stem cells. It's not. Because if I told you now, you wouldn't believe me anyway. So stay with me till the end, because that one is going to be the moment. But here we go. Here's number two. Who knew that two teenagers could look at Parkinson's falls, look at animals, look at balance, and say, what if humans had a tail? I'm sorry, what? A tail? For Parkinson's? I saw that and immediately thought, okay, Who Knew Week has officially left the building. We are no longer in normal research territory. We are now somewhere between a science fair, a kangaroo documentary, and a cartoon where somebody gets hit with flying pans and sees stars. But this is real. Two high school students in Calgary developed a wearable tail to help people with Parkinson's maintain balance and reduce falls. A wearable tail. Let that sentence sit there for 1 second. I have never once had someone say to me, hey, Bryce, have you considered a tail? Right? No. And yet, when you actually think about it, it starts to make sense. You see, animals use tails for balance. Cats use tails and kangaroos use tails. A lot of animals use their tails to help stabilize themselves, shift weight, and stay upright. Meanwhile, humans got no tail and a spine that occasionally sounds like popcorn in a microwave. And with Parkinson's, balance can become one of the scariest parts of the disease, because a fall is not just a fall. A fall can change everything. A fall can steal confidence. A fall can make someone stop going out. A fall can turn I'm independent into I'm afraid to walk across the room. And people who do not live with Parkinson's sometimes do not understand that at all. They think falling is just losing your footing. But for us, sometimes the fear of falling becomes a second diagnosis. You start scanning rooms. Where's the chair? Where's the wall? Where's the doorway? Is that rug trying to kill me? See, Parkinson's balance issues are no joke. And when I first saw a wearable tail, I laughed. I mean, I really laughed. But then I kept reading. And I thought, wait a second. This is actually brilliant. Because the idea is not, let's make people look funny. The idea is, can a wearable device help shift balance? Can it react to movement? Can it give support when someone's unstable? Can it help people avoid serious falls? And the best part, this didn't come from a giant company with $1 billion budget. It came from two young people looking at a real problem and saying, what if? That's the kind of thing that gives me hope. Because sometimes Parkinson's research feels so heavy, so slow, so expensive, so far away. But then two teenagers built a wearable tail, and suddenly my brain goes, hold on. Maybe the next good idea doesn't always come from where we expect. Maybe it comes from curiosity. Maybe it comes from fresh eyes. Maybe it comes from people who are not trapped in their usual way of thinking. Who knew? Who knew? Who knew a couple of teenagers might make us think differently about balance, falls, creativity, and what assistive technology could actually look like? I sure didn't. Man, I really like that one. And they were from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, by the way. So really, really cool. Now, quick pause. If you're enjoying Who Knew Week, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It helps the channel reach more people who are sitting at home thinking that they're the only ones dealing with this stuff. And trust me, you need to stay here for the last one because in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to tell you what doctors are actually transplanting from healthy people into people with Parkinson's. And I promise you, you're not going to guess it. You know, you might be thinking stem cells, you might think blood, you might think some fancy medical thing with a name that sounds like a spaceship part. Nope. You are not ready. I was not ready. I was not ready for it all. Carmen was not ready. The dog probably was not ready and does not even know what we're talking about. So stay with me. And if you think you know what it is, before you be honest, put it in the comments and let's compare notes at the end. All right. Well, before we get there, it is time for Carmen's Care Partner Corner, and then I'll give you number 3. Here's what Carmen wrote for me to read to you today. From a care partner's point of view, what stands out in this episode is how much of Parkinson's happens in places that people do not talk about enough. Mood, balance, the insides of your body. These are not small things. They affect daily life, they affect confidence, they affect relationships, and they affect how safe someone feels in their own body. And sometimes the person with Parkinson's does not even know how to explain it. They may say they're tired. They may say they feel off. They may say they do not want to go out. But underneath that, there may be depression, fear of falling, constipation, discomfort, anxiety, or just the exhaustion of managing a body that doesn't cooperate the way it used to. As care partners, we cannot fix everything. And that really hurts sometimes. It's so hard to live that way. Because when you love someone, you want to fix it. You want to fix them. You want to find the answer. You want to make the bad days smaller. But sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is just notice. Notice when their mood changes. Notice when they're more nervous walking. Notice when they're avoiding things they used to do. Notice when they are embarrassed to talk about symptoms that are very real. And we can help start the conversation, not with pressure, not with blame, not with, why didn't you tell me that? But with, I noticed this. Do you want to talk about it? Or maybe we should ask the doctor about this. Or you don't have to be embarrassed with me. Because Parkinson's already takes enough. It should not also take away a person's dignity. All right, well, here we go. This brings us to our final one. So thank you, Carmen. That was perfect. But now, here we go. This is the one I teased you at the beginning. This is the one I told you about to stay for. This is the one where doctors are taking something from healthy people, preparing it medically, and putting it into someone with Parkinson's because it might affect symptoms. Now, when I first read that, I thought, okay, this has to be one of those fake internet things. This has to be someone in a basement with too much time and not enough supervision. But no, this is real. You ready for it? They are transferring poop. Yes, poop. Who knew? Who knew that Parkinson's research would eventually bring us here? I mean, I've been living with this for almost 16 years. I've talked about tremors and stiffness and medication timing, dyskinesia, freezing, fatigue, sleep, you name it, anxiety, constipation, brain fog, toe curling, all of it. But I never thought I'd be sitting here ending an episode by saying, doctors are studying poop transplants for Parkinson's. Well, welcome to Doing Life Today. This is where we are now. And honestly, I know what some of you just did. Some of you leaned back. Some of you made a face. Some of you said, Bryce, no. Some of you paused this video and went, did he just say poop? Yes. Yes, I did. And somewhere, someone's grandchild just walked through the room at exactly the wrong moment and heard me say poop transplant. And now there's a family conversation happening. Well, you're welcome. But here's the thing. As ridiculous as it sounds, there is serious science underneath it. Because some doctors are not interested in the poop because it's poop. They are interested in what's inside of it, the bacteria, the community of bacteria and other tiny organisms living in the digestive system. And in Parkinson's, the gut has become a huge area of interest because so many people with Parkinson's have gut symptoms. Constipation can show up years before diagnosis. Digestion can be slow. Medication absorption can be weird. The gut and the brain are constantly communicating. And researchers are asking whether changing the gut microbiome could affect Parkinson's symptoms. Stool from a screened healthy donor is prepared and delivered into another person's gut with the goal of changing the gut bacteria. And yes, I know that sentence is a lot. That sentence walks into your brain wearing muddy boots. But that's what it is. A healthy donor, screened, prepared medically, transplanted into another person to try to change the gut microbiome. Who knew? Oh my God, I did not know this. And let me say this very clearly. This doesn't mean anyone should try anything like this at home, right? Absolutely not. Do not go rogue. Do not become a bathroom scientist. Do not make me regret teaching you words. This is medical research. It has to be done under proper medical supervision with screening, safety protocols, and real doctors. Because stool can carry infections and other risks if it's not handled properly. So this is definitely not a DIY moment. This is not a my cousin knows a guy moment. This is not a Bryce said poop in medicine moment. No, this is a research moment. But it's fascinating because if the gut is part of the Parkinson's story, then maybe treating the gut could become part of the Parkinson's conversation. And that matters. Because for years, a lot of people were told Parkinson's was mostly about movement. Take your pills, watch your tremor, track your walking, manage your stiffness, exercise. But then real life shows up and says, what about constipation and sleep and mood, anxiety, brain fog? What about that weird medical delay where you take your levodopa and it acts like you got stuck in traffic behind a tractor? What about the days your gut feels like it's operating on dial-up internet? That is Parkinson's too. And the gut may not just be a side character. It may be part of the main plot. And that's why this one matters. Not because poop transplants are suddenly the answer. They're not. Not because this is proven to stop Parkinson's. It isn't. And not because everyone needs one. Absolutely not. But because researchers are willing to take a look at Parkinson's in bigger ways. Brain and gut, movement and mood, medication digestion, symptoms and environment. The whole messy, inconvenient, very human picture. And honestly, that's how Parkinson feels. It feels messy, connected, weird, sometimes embarrassing, sometimes funny, sometimes terrifying, sometimes all of those things, even before breakfast. So when researchers start asking bigger questions, I pay attention. And yes, this one is funny. It is impossible not to laugh a little because we're human and the word poop is going to do what the word poop does. But underneath the humor, there's hope. Because there are people living with Parkinson's right now who are dealing with constipation so severe it affects their whole day. People whose medication timing is affected by digestion. People who feel bloated, uncomfortable, sluggish, and frustrated. And people who have just been told it's just part of Parkinson's. And maybe one day the gut will not be treated like an afterthought. Maybe it'll be treated like part of the treatment plan. And that's what I want people to hear. Not go get a poop transplant. No. What I want people to hear is this. Your gut symptoms matter. Your constipation matters. Your digestion matters. Your bathroom symptoms are not embarrassing side notes. They're part of Parkinson's story. And if you're dealing with them, make sure you bring them up. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your neurologist. Talk to your pharmacist. Talk to your care team. Do not suffer silently because it's awkward. We talk about everything here. We talk about tremors. We talk about toes, brain fog. And apparently now we talk about medically supervised poop transplants. Who knew? Who knew doctors might take something from a healthy person, something none of us expected, and use it to try to change what's happening in the gut of someone with Parkinson's? I sure didn't know that. And if you didn't know that, put me too in the comments, please. And if there was ever a who knew moment, that is it. Now, I want to hear from you. Which one made you say who knew? Number 1, the depression connection. Number 2, the wearable tail. Number 3, that one that made all of us question how we ended up in a serious Parkinson's episode talking about poop. And if that, drop it in the comments, let me know, please. And if that last one absolutely shocked you, just write no way. That's all. Just write no way. Because honestly, same, no shame here, no panic, no pretending we have all the answers. We're just learning together, one weird Parkinson's clue at a time. And if this episode made you think of someone living with Parkinson's, or someone caring for someone with Parkinson's, then share it with them, please. Not to scare them, not to make them run around looking for a tail or asking strangers about medical donations. Please don't do that. But because somebody out there needs to know that Parkinson's research is bigger, stranger, and more hopeful than most of us will ever hear in the doctor's office. All right, you made it this far. So here is your Bryce-ism of the episode. With Parkinson's, sometimes hope does not show up wearing a lab coat. Sometimes it shows up as a question nobody thought to ask, a teenager with an idea, a medication doing something unexpected, a gut connection nobody wanted to talk about. And yes, sometimes hope shows up in the weirdest possible package. Who knew? I sure didn't, but I'm glad we're learning. Well, there you go. Another month of Who Knew. And after today, I think we've officially proven that Parkinson's is stranger than any of us thought. All right, until next time, I want you to keep showing up. I want you to keep being real. And I want you to keep doing life today. I love you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode.